Hello, and welcome to another edition of This Month at the TNM. This month we're going to take a look at one of the big objections you may hear against Texas independence. Many people who don't know better don't think that Texas is strong enough to stand on her own, that without the federal government, quote, taking care of us, we'd just fall apart. Nothing could be further from the truth. Being Texan is great. It's almost like belonging to an exclusive club where everyone goes around constantly talking about how awesome the club is. We're known as the Lone Star State, and that comes from our flag. We decorate everything with a Texas flag. You can spot a Texan coming at you from a mile away. Everybody wears, or at least owns, a cowboy hat and boots. You can't go to a restaurant or a bar without seeing a Stetson or a straw hat, and it's most often paired with exotic leather boots. Did you know we have our own genre of music? Texas red dirt country is wildly popular with its own frontrunners like Aaron Watson, Bart Crow, Stoney LaRue. Tex-Mex restaurants can be found in every major city. It'd be hard to throw a rock in even a small town and not hit at least a taco truck. I've never heard of Illinois Mex or Oregon Mex, have you? Somehow we've incorporated the tortilla into every meal of the day and dessert. Where else can you go to get a state-shaped waffle? Chili is the official dish of the state of Texas, and authentic Texas chili doesn't have beans. No matter where we travel in the world, someone we speak with will pick up on the accent and say, "You're from Texas, right?" That Texas twang is like an oozy honey southern drawl, but a bit sharper on the edges. We celebrate our treacherous creatures with weekend-long celebrations like our Rattlesnake Festival, Fire Ant Festival, and Mosquito Festival. It takes 12 hours to cross the state of Texas, so we measure distance in hours, not miles. Texans are so unique in so many ways that we practically are a nation of our own, even without the documentation. Our distinct Texan culture is where our pride stands out the most. Once you get past the Texan pride and dig into the inner workings of our state, you realize we are a dominant force, not only on a nationwide scale, but globally as well. If Texas were its own country, we'd be the 9th largest economy in the world. We saw a 10.1% increase in GDP at the end of last year, compared to the national average of only 6.9%. There are many reasons for this. In a recent 2021 survey by Chief Executive Magazine, American CEOs indicated the top 3 important considerations when evaluating an area to establish corporate headquarters. In order, they cited tax policy, regulatory climate, and talent availability. Texas ranked as the absolute best for business, and California ranked as the absolute worst for business out of all 50 states in this CEO survey. The economic environment in Texas makes a convincing case to move a company across the country. Texas' combined corporate tax rate is 21%, which is among the lowest, if not the lowest, in the U.S. Major metro homes are still cheaper than their equivalents in New York, LA, or DC. We're in the center of the country. It's cheaper and less time-consuming to ship or fly. Corporate rent is half as expensive as Chicago, LA, or DC. Texas has a really great manufacturing economy. The state's resources make it a natural leader in petroleum and chemical manufacturing. Its research institutions have fostered computer-related and other high-tech manufacturing. And a business-friendly environment and skilled labor have helped create a burgeoning automotive manufacturing sector. Manufacturing directly employs about 909,000 Texans and contributed $241 billion to Texas gross domestic product in 2019, about 13% of the state's total economic output. To put Texas' manufacturing sector in perspective, its economic output is larger than the manufacturing GDP in both Russia and Mexico, and it's larger than the entire economy of Portugal. Moreover, Texas manufacturing's contribution to state GDP rose by 85% after adjusting for inflation, between 2001 and 2019, outpacing total statewide GDP growth. This graphic shows how varied and profitable our manufacturing is in Texas. Obviously, Texas has some depth in this area. We're also the nation's leader in exports and a top destination for foreign direct investment. Texas is the epicenter for global business and trade. There are already more than 1,600 foreign corporations doing business in the state. Texas is the #1 destination in the U.S. for foreign direct investment capital expenditures. We're also the #1 job creator in the nation. As you've seen, a lot of companies are relocating from other states to take advantage of all that Texas has to offer their business. Many Fortune 500 companies are headquartered in Texas. These are some of the largest companies in the world. While there is a lot of open range in Texas, our urban areas have been recognized by businesses around the world as the place to put down roots. Texas has long been recognized as the place to be for business, and that's not going to change anytime soon. That's true for companies all over the world. They want to have a presence in our great state. Many of the products Texas exports literally come right out of the soil. Texas is a huge state with an abundance of natural resources. Both our energy resources and our agricultural production are what makes Texas so strong. Texas is second in total animal product exports and 6th in total plant product exports. Here are some specific rankings for our agricultural products. All these products are crucial in the world today. About 37% of our agricultural exports go to Mexico, our largest international trading partner for ag products. If Texas were a country, it would be the 3rd largest natural gas producer and the 4th largest oil producer in the world. We produce more than double what's needed for our state. Texas' abundant production, coupled with our vast storage capacity, ensures Texas has the resources we need during peak demand. Crude petroleum oils account for about 22.2% of total Texas exports. Crude oil, along with miscellaneous petroleum-based products and liquefied propane, are among the state's top exports, contributing greatly to our total economic output, or real gross domestic product, or GDP. We hear a lot about Russian oil with the Ukraine war going on right now. Here's some stats you might not know that shows we do more with less. While Russia is 6.323 million square miles, or 11% of the world's landmass, and Texas is 268,597 square miles, or 0.4% of the world landmass, Texas produces almost 11 times as much oil per day as Russia when you correct for landmass. Texas refines almost 22 times as much oil per day as Russia when you correct for landmass. And we could be doing more if the federal government would allow us. Now for the ever-popular subject of renewable energy. Our renewable energy stats are nothing to laugh about. Texas led the country in building new renewable energy projects last year, according to a report released by the American Clean Power Association, continuing a promising trend in a state that's one of the largest producers of fossil fuels. Texas installed 7,352 megawatts of new wind, solar, and energy installation projects in 2021, significantly outpacing California, which installed 2,697 megawatts of storage projects. Texas also surpassed other states in the amount of storage it has under construction or in advanced development, reaching nearly 20,000 megawatts, followed by California at nearly 14,000 megawatts. Our energy sector doesn't put all their eggs in one basket. Our natural resources make it to where we have multiple sources of energy, including coal, nuclear, and even huge uranium assets. Now for the fun stuff. Here's a fun fact. Texas is the site of the first vineyard established in North America by Franciscan priests around 1662. As European settlers followed the development of mission outposts, they brought more grapevine cuttings, further developing the industry through the 1800s. Despite being relatively new industries in Texas, craft breweries, distilleries, and wineries contribute to the state's economy. Not only do craft alcohol producers attract a wide customer base to their tap rooms and tasting rooms, but their products also line the shelves of grocery and liquor stores and bars and restaurants across the state. Craft breweries, distilleries, and wineries employ thousands of Texans, with an average annual employment growth nearly twice that of the rest of the country. Built largely on word-of-mouth marketing, Tito's now ranks as the #1 distilled spirit in the United States, outselling Smirnoff, Jack Daniel's, Fireball, and Crown Royal. According to Forbes magazine, the company is worth an estimated $2.5 billion. Now, does that sound like Texas needs a federal government to take care of it? These people who make that argument just don't have the facts. What we talked about here is just the tip of the iceberg. If we had more time, I could have talked about so many other aspects of what contributes to our massive GDP. I focus mainly on the highlights to show you where we're leading in the U.S. and globally. It's pretty clear that Texas is stronger than any other state in the nation collectively. Of all the states, we absolutely are the front runner for being independent. We're doing exceedingly well despite the federal government. Can you imagine how much better we would perform if we could get out from underneath the overwhelming federal regulations and get rid of federal taxation? Texas opens the door for more small businesses, better agricultural production, increased energy production, debt-free currency, protected borders, better utilities. The list just goes on and on. If we continue to remain a state of the union, I'm not sure that we'll be allowed to be successful. The urgency from Washington is mounting. The volume of demands is getting louder and louder. Every day is a new grievance and more overreach by the federal government. Texans can govern Texas better than anyone else, and they need to know why and how. To quote Daniel Miller's book, Texit, Why and How Texas Will Leave the Union, the real question is this: given all of our natural advantages, if Texas can't make it as an independent nation, then who can? Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next month.